Now I'll reshare.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, back to what we were talking about. So this is, I'll go back since I just started recording. Big idea 12, motion of objects. And we are talking about the standards here. So we have, like I said, big idea 12, which is only in 4th grade and some of the lower grades. I'll show you the breakout, what that looks like. Not in 5th grade, but these are tested under big idea 13 in 5th grade. So very important. So they're going to recognize that motion is always changing, changes position, may changes direction, and then obviously investigate and describe that the speed of object is determined by distance and time, and that objects can move in different speeds. So here's a couple of the clarifications. The student will identify that object in motion always changes position, may change its direction. Student will describe that the speed of an object is determined by the distance an object travels and the time it takes the object to travel that distance. The student will describe that objects can move at different speeds. So that's what they need to know from those two standards. And then assessment limits. So this is actually coming from the updated specs booklet that came out in 2021. So there were minor little changes in like some of the wording, and some of the standards did change. Some of the clarifications, assessment limits did change a tiny bit, but we'll highlight any of those changes if they come up. But here, nothing really changed. So any of the assessment limits, so items for speed, it's conceptual, so they're not going to have math problems. So at 5th grade SSA, they're not going to have to compute speed. They're not going to have to actually do that. Now, does that mean we can't actually do that in 4th grade and actually have them understand that relationship? Yeah, by actually doing and calculating the speed, they can understand that relationship of distance and time. Just know that they're not going to be tested on actually having to do some sort of formula to calculate speed. They're not going to have any math problems for that. Items might require the identification of a direction of motion, but not the magnitude. So, they'll talk about velocity and acceleration, but they don't have to, again, do any of the velocity or acceleration formulas. They'll get that in middle school. So right now it's just that conceptual understanding of speed and different ways that you can talk about motion, speed, velocity, acceleration. So using those terms is totally fine. They just don't have to do all the math problems that come along with it. And there's a cool little misconception, because students do have lots of misconceptions with motion, items in motion. So there's a common student misconception: if an object is moving, a force must be acting on it. Motion implies force. Not all the time. Forces cause changes in motion. If an object is moving, no force is necessary to keep it moving, but a force is needed to make it stop moving or change direction. So you can get it moving, and once it's in motion, but it takes other forces to act on it to change that motion. So that's a misconception there, that motion implies force there. So that might be something to, any other misconceptions you can think of that students, if you've taught this in the past, anything that students might struggle with, you can put that in the chat there real quick. Anything that you've noticed when you've taught 4th grade, maybe in the past. We might have some new teachers in 4th grade here that could benefit from your knowledge. Anne-Marie, if anybody puts anything in the chat, just shout it out. I can't see the chat right now.
I will.
Okay. So that is our 2 standards. So a little tiny break from having 80 standards like in the last big idea unit. And then here we go. This is kind of the progression of big idea 12, and kind of look at what do you notice there for big idea 12. Anything, any ahas? You can put that in the chat. See anything aha? One is very glaring. Emery, what do you see?
Well, they don't talk about motion in second, third, and fifth grade.
Correct. Well, fifth, they just put it all under Big Idea 13. So they talk about balance, unbalanced forces, friction, mass, but then also speed is under that. So they'll review. But yeah, but notice the actual concept of speed. It's not touched on until fourth grade. So that's why it's conceptual. They don't have a lot of understanding probably up to that point. They do a lot of stuff with motion, like third grade does gravity, and then first and second do a lot of forces, right? Pushes and pulls, lots of pushes and pulls, gravity, and then fourth grade, boom, let's hit them with it's a very difficult concept of now speed, where you have all these different relationships. Now we have measurements and tools to calculate speed. So there's some different things there. So if they're struggling with the concept of speed and motion, it's probably because of that, because it's not even touched upon until fourth grade. Anything else anybody notices? Yeah, I can see in first grade they're just doing ways things move, straight line, zigzag. Emery has the right units on those. That's always fun. Yeah. Excellent. So it just gives you a little insight into the progression of Big Idea 12. So you might say maybe it says Big Idea 12 and 13 on like the timeline, but there's no real 13 in fourth grade. They don't do 13 until fifth grade, but just know that Big Idea 12 is taught, is assessed under Big Idea 13 in fifth grade. So they will be tested on, I can guarantee, motion, position, speed. Yeah. Cool. So the task, so it's an 8-day unit, but there's only 5 days, instructional days for this Big Idea unit. There's 2 hands-on activities that go along with that. And there's content building within the day, but there's also 1 day that's dedicated to just making sure they understand the concept of speed, position, some of these other vocabulary terms there. So you can see that starts February 1st on the timeline, and everybody's in different places, so that's totally okay. And just some considerations for planning. So again, you know, we design, we put these together for, think about 78 elementary schools. So each school is completely different depending on your location, and each classroom is completely different. So we highly encourage teachers to take what we have and modify, make sure it meets the needs of your students. So we want you to personalize these things. Once you download them, they're in your hands, and if you need to extend and spend more days on a certain subject than others, that's totally cool. If you've used things in the past that work really well and get results, totally fine. So we want you to be able to personalize these things. What we don't want to see is just clicking through PowerPoints and clicking through CPOM's lessons and videos and stuff like that. We want the engagement level to be as high as possible. So here's just some considerations for planning. So obviously doing the standards. So like I was doing, just kind of, breaking down the standard a little bit, understanding what they need to know, particular, any misconceptions. So I did that, a little bit of that work too. Utilizing the probe. So the unit usually starts out with some sort of a formative assessment probe. So using that data to help drive your instruction. Maybe there's a certain concept or vocabulary that your students are unfamiliar with, so they might need some extra background information there, or video or something. Scaffolding, so any processes or content that needs extra scaffolding up front is totally fine. So you just have to find where those gaps are. And then using formative assessments like the probes that are exit tickets questioning is very important. So like when you're doing a video, if you're previewing a video, like a 2-minute, 4-minute video, where are you going to pause it? Where are you going to pause that video and let students kind of soak in what was said in that video? And how are you keeping students accountable? Are they doing a thinking map, or are you actually going to have them answer a question? Science notebooks, yeah, we still want students to utilize science notebooks for many reasons. Scientists always journal. That's one of the biggest things they do. So we want students to be able to do that as well, and just capturing their thoughts. So if they're watching a video or something, or looking at a picture, you want to be able to capture their thoughts to see if they're understanding what's going on. And then you can track student information using that list above. Now, those are just some of the things. You might have other ways that you use formative assessment. Maybe you do small groups and you collect data that way. So if there's any other ways that you track student data, maybe you have a tracking sheet that you use for your exit tickets. So if there's any other ways that you do formative assessment, go ahead and drop that in the chat, and I'll have Amory share if anything comes in there. So think about any other formative assessment things that you utilize to track student data, and because at the end we want them to master these standards so they'll be successful moving forward, moving into the SSA. Absolutely. And then hands-on, so when we're planning, we're looking at the hands-on, we're looking at the materials. You don't want to do that 5 minutes before. You know, hey, I need marbles and rulers. Make sure you do that days before. Check your materials. Check your lab. A lot of stuff that was in the lab, so check there for different things that you might need. So that's just making sure you have management. And then how are you going to manage those materials? Are you going to do individual? Are you going to do small groups? There are times where you have to do, depending, you might have to do a student teacher demo. So that there are times where that might happen as well. So think about how you're going to utilize materials. Do you have enough materials? Obviously, check if you need more. Please let us know. We can pony things out as quickly as possible. Just can't do it 5 minutes before you start. We won't be able to get that to you that quick. So always think that in the back of your head. What hands-on materials do you need? And then practice it too. Yeah. A lot of times it's a good idea. Okay, I have the materials. Actually do it. Actually try it out and see if it works or if it's not working. Big one, I had a teacher like, hey, can you come up and I did static electricity, but it didn't work. You know, can you come and take a look at that, see if we can get it working? Absolutely, because that's definitely one that doesn't always work when you want it to, static electricity. So try them out. Try out these things. Make adjustments. You know, if you're missing some things, what could you substitute for materials? But definitely practice before. And plan for those roadblocks or barriers. And then we talked about this, but videos, CPOMs, we put a lot of media and science, lots of videos, songs. CPOMs lessons are fantastic for building content, but we want to make sure the students are engaged. I know they have some engaging activities in the CPOMs lessons, but how are you making sure all the students are, not just you're calling on certain students, how you're making sure that all students are involved with CPOMs or videos and things like that, BrainPop videos. So just kind of think on, these are things to do for planning when you're planning out. Yeah, we lay a lot of stuff out. You know, we have the PowerPoint, the framework, the student pages. We kind of lay it as best we can because we know time is short, but there is a little bit of planning on your end to make sure everybody is getting those standards and being successful. Cool. So I'm actually going to pull up the instructional PowerPoint real quick. Oh, wow. I had it on transcript. It's like recording every word I say. Kind of scary. Emery, anything in the chat?
No, the only thing is that Rachel said that for as far as like checking to see if they know it, Rachel uses some things on BrainPop. I know they do have, different checks on BrainPop. And Isabel says that she uses mini quizzes and the exit tickets.
Yep. And like quizzes, the program quizzes. I know a lot of people use that. That's probably my #1 favorite kind of gaming program to use. I love the data collection and the real-time data. GimKit's also up there, but it's gotten to me, it's gotten a little too far into the game world. It's great for like practice and stuff like that, but if sometimes quizzes is nice and short. I know I had a teacher last year, literally at the end of every lesson every day, did a 5-minute quizzes, and literally almost every day. And she said it really helped their students excel, because it was one thing. I'm going to try this one thing, and did it. And she would track their progress too. And if they didn't get a certain score, she wouldn't let them move on to the next quizzes. So they kept doing it until they reached a certain mastery. I thought that was pretty cool, and it worked. So.
ReadWorks has good comprehension checks.
Oh yeah, definitely. And even occasionally, I know the unit I'm working on right now, Study Jams, occasionally has some really good. It's free too, but has some good content. We do put that in there from time to time, but even has some good quizzes that go along with their content. So yes. Okay. So here is our Big Idea 12 PowerPoint. And I did just put up today the assessment. So there's assessments a little shorter because, like, again, we're really only looking at 2 standards. So it's not 25 questions. So it's a little shorter than some of the other ones. There's not a mini assessment because it's only 8 days, 5 days instructional. So there's not a mini assessment for this one. But you can go ahead and go on Canvas and check out the regular assessment for this. Sweet. There's our days, 8 days, short. So basically what I did is took the unit Need for Speed and just broke it down into a PowerPoint. So it was kind of nice. So you have your daily learning target, and I tried to put a little bit more videos and pictures of different things, so you can actually have students take a look at this little video and actually do a little probing, see what they know. Can they describe the motion of what's happening? Have they been on a roller coaster? Maybe they can describe an amusement park ride and have them talk about, can they talk about speed, velocity, position, all that good stuff, motion. So yeah, there's a song. So there's a song for, no, we don't have to play the song. That's one I did a couple of years ago, and students seem to like it. So there's the song there. Now this is kind of fun. So this is a video of receiver Jerry Rice, and it's really cool because they break down his motion and how he moves and how he's able to always get open. I'm sorry if you're not a 49er fan. If you want to, pick your favorite receiver and see if there's a video. If you want to pick Mike Evans or somebody like that, Jerry Rice was one of my favorite all time, so he's one of the best. Go 49ers. I do have my Bucks flag though too. So it's a really cool video because they really break down his motion and how he gets open. So there's some questions that go along with that video that kind of just tie into how he's able to get open and some of the movements he does to kind of fake out the defender. So it's kind of a really, really fun little video there. We don't have to watch it. It's short. Then there's a probe. So we talked about having a probe. So this is crossing the finish line. So students will, and this is in the student pages, so students will read the probe and then they will select the answer that they think is the best, and they should do some explanation as well. They could even draw a diagram of that if you wanted to. And there is an explanation. I did post that on campus as well, which helps build content knowledge for yourself, but also gives you what the answer is. But don't do that on day one. Come back to this at the end of the unit and then revisit the probe and all that good stuff. So it starts out with that. And then let's race. So this was in here. Oh, before that, there's a little bit of reading. So I did drop in just a couple little reading slides to get students doing a little text. So there's some questions that go with that reading slide there. And then, oh, did I forget? Oh, I did forget something. So let's race. Yeah. So on this slide in the notes section, they do a quick little, think about taking them outside and then actually having them do like a little obstacle course, have them run around a tree, make it look like a path. So have each student and time them, see how long it takes them to run this path, and then actually have them think about and talk about, well, where during your run, did you speed up? Did you slow down? Did you change position, direction? So all that good stuff there. So it's just kind of a nice little way to springboard Big Idea 12. So in the notes section, you'll see exactly what to do on that slide for Let's Race. And then, yes, you have the reading, and then you have the informed instruction. Day 2, we're going to set up our marble run. So this was in the former unit as well. So basically, they're going to set up a ruler with a groove. So make sure you have your rulers that has a groove down the middle. You should have some marbles. If you are needing extra or you can't find them, please let us know immediately so we can get those out to you. So this will take, we have a couple days on that. Quick check. But before you get to that, there is a quick little video. I love this video. It's one of my favorite because it just really, have the kids sit still and understand that they are in fact moving, and actually how fast they're moving. How fast is the Earth actually moving? It's very mind-boggling, but it's a really cool video that kind of brings it all together. Kids really like this video.
So, Jamie, I have a question. When will we
Sure.
receive the student pages for Big Idea 12? And we are packing for that Friday.
Yes,
correct?
we are. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. We send them
So
out.
you should have them next week.
Probably Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. For sure. If we get it, sometimes we get them done early, like at the warehouse, and they'll send them out that day. So, because they do Saturdays too. So, you'll definitely have it in time. There's a little text screen for speed. So again, just some content building, and there's some questions to go along with that as well. I'm actually going to do that instead. There we go. Because now I can see the notes. So there's some questions to go along with that. And then we get into, they're going to investigate the next couple of days. So they're going to, understand that relationship of distance and time with a ruler and a marble. So they'll set up a little investigation. So this is where we get a little bit of nature science in there as well. We know we struggle. It's on the SSA with nature science. We just did our mid-year in 5th grade and some of our lowest mid-year the questions were nature of science, believe it or not. Not too surprised. So this will help kind of reinforce some of that as well. So they have their question there: does increasing the height of the ramp affect the speed of the marble? So that independent variable, which is increasing the height of the ramp, dependent variable is they're going to calculate the speed. So we want to find that distance and time of the marble. Set up some constants, so what should stay the same. And then this is interesting. So it says make a hypothesis. So that was one little change. In the past, it was always make 3 predictions. They're not going to be tested on the word hypothesis, but it is okay. They might see the word hypothesis. So can they just come up with one prediction, hypothesis, what they think will happen? So what's the most likely outcome? And they should provide a little bit of scientific information. When you get to the next NOS unit, I go into a little bit more depth of how to actually create a good prediction, good hypothesis there. So this is kind of loose, little loose there. It follows a little bit of the scientific method, but it's not going to go too far. So in their student pages, they'll kind of set that up, what they need for the experiment. You can even demo it. It's good to let them see it. This is what we're actually going to do. So maybe as a teacher, you're showing them exactly what they're going to do. And in the notes section, it kind of lays it all out there. And it is in the student pages. What it's done in the past is usually it's by group. So like group number 1 would have one book, and the book would be your height. And then they put the ruler on and then roll it. And then obviously you use some tape measures too. So make sure you have those. If you need more, let us know. And then group 2 would have 2 books. Group 3, I have seen some classrooms that have varied it a little bit and actually had all the groups do 1 book through 6 books, so they get that full experience. The idea is to have the groups actually come together and share their data. So okay, group 1, you had 1 book. What was the speed of the marble compared to those that had it where it was 6 books high, the ramp. So they will do that over, set it up, and then day 3, they'll continue. So you basically have 2 days for that, and that is in the student pages. So they will do a little bit of math. Again, they're not going to be tested on it, but totally helps. I know it totally helps me understand speed if I see that relationship between distance and time. So it definitely helps with that. So they'll do a little bit there, and they can use a calculator. With seconds, I usually do suggest just kind of to the nearest second is totally fine. That way we're not having to deal with so many decimals if you're not into decimals yet, which I think is 5th grade. I'm not sure 4th grade does decimals yet. I could be wrong on that. Let me know. Could be near the end of the year. But you can do near a second is totally fine. And then they'll do the average. So we want the average speed of those different trials. And you can talk about trials. Why are we doing this 4 times? So the more trials you do, the more valid, reliable your data is when you want to make predictions. I mean, not predictions. If you want to make a conclusion, it helps that reliability. So they'll do the marble run experiment over 2 days. And then we have a content day. So on day 4, they're going to build their understanding a little bit more there. Very cool. Make sure you turn your speakers up. So this is a F-22 Raptor. So they're going to watch this video. It's just this Raptor flying. Have them kind of write their thoughts down, capture the thoughts in their science notebook. How is the Raptor moving? How would you describe its motion? Do you know how? Could you find out how fast it's going? Velocity, is it accelerating? Is it decelerating? And then even compare it to another vehicle. So how would you compare the movement motion of a F-22 to that of a car or a train or a boat? So have them do some comparisons of motion. It's just a really cool video, and it sounds really good. Turn your speakers up real loud. Not too loud, don't disturb the class next to you. And then another really fun video, and again, I said this in the beginning, we have a lot of media, so that's why we don't want you to just like click and play, hey, it's real fun. But where are you going to pause, watch it, where are you going to pause, ask a question, and let the students soak in what they are seeing. So this video is fun because it's Usain Bolt versus a cheetah. So they actually put like a digital cheetah and actually do like a motion and speed comparison, which is very fascinating. And there's like a couple questions to go with that. And like I said before, there's a study jams. So this one actually has a good study jams, does a great job of talking through different types of motion, speed, velocity, acceleration. And they kind of use a pinball machine, which is good. And then they are going to actually do a little reading. So Anne Maria, I think I'll have you explain this. For Myon, I have the link in here, and I think it's in the framework, but there's an easy way to find it. Because you don't go on Myon.
If you open up Myon through Renaissance, and then you click on the link, it's been working for me to where you don't have to sign in and it takes you right to the book. Before you had to sign in and then go to the book. It's been working for me. I don't know if it'll change or not.
So through Clever, so you just go to Renaissance?
Yeah, you go through Clever, go to Renaissance, open Myon, and then you can go into the guide or the PowerPoint and click on the link, and it should go right to the book. Like I said, it's been working for me, but who knows when that will change.
Okay. If not, then you just have to search
the book by title.
Yeah, but this is kind of nice if you can just go right to it.
Right.
So they will do that, and in the student pages, there is some questions and activities that go with the book. Again, highly recommend preview the pages. Think of any other questions or activities that you could pull from those pages for that Myon book. And then day 5, we're going to extend it a little bit more. So this is our second investigation. So that instead of doing a marble, they're going to make a little helicopter. Again, we want them to understand changing motion. So this is different motion. So think about something falling using a helicopter here. So it does start out with a little, just again, content building, making sure they understand what speed is, what motion, position, all those terms, how they associate with each other and how they associate with motion. There is a video of actually how to make a paper helicopter and what to do with it. There's some questions that go along. So they will actually make, and I put the templates on Canvas, so they make a little paper helicopter, very easy to do. And then they are going to find the speed of it. So one thing you want to do is they're going to set a height of 200 centimeters. So they'll drop it from about 200 centimeters. And that could be just like a mark on the wall or something, a little sticky note, 200 centimeters. So if they just hold it there and then they can drop it and then time how long it takes. So they'll do a couple trials of that. They'll record distance, time, speed, and notes. So any notes about the flight. Did it fly straight? Did it go straight down, or did it curve? Did it flip? I've seen some of them, they'll actually, if they're not balanced properly, they'll flip over. So you'll let them do that. Kind of fun. And then we want them to modify the second time, modify the helicopter, and they can either try to make it speed up or slow down. So if they want to make it go slower, fly slower, on the way down, or do they want to make it go faster? So let them kind of modify the paper helicopter and see if it works. Did it slow down? Did it speed up? They can do that through the second investigation.
So, Jamie, when you say to drop it from the same height, are you measuring it from the bottom of the helicopter and dropping it, or from the top of the helicopter and dropping it?
That would be up to the groups or the class, and as long as you're consistent. So
You have to do the same thing over and over. Yeah.
Absolutely. So it brings in nature science. So as long as you're measuring, starting it from the top or the bottom, you're fine. But if you flip flop every time, then that's bad.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Good point. Especially and with the marble too, where you're measuring from. Some people I've seen, they measure from once the marble leaves the ruler, but I've seen also people include the ruler. As long as you're consistent, it doesn't matter. As long as you're doing the same thing every time, you should be good. Good point, good point. So they'll do that, and then we have a review day. So just going back through before they get to the assessment, do they understand what speed is? It's that relationship of distance and time. Do they understand the words? Maybe velocity, which is that speed plus direction, acceleration, which is the change in velocity. So they'll see some of those terms. They understand what position or motion are. So there's a couple little videos that go with that. I thought this would be fun. So I like the snowboard. It's like one of my favorite winter things to do. Not here in Florida, obviously. I have to go somewhere. But so here's just a little video of me snowboarding down this run. So this kind of brings it all together. Can students, would they be able to describe the motion? Could they figure out my speed? You know, what would they need to figure out how fast I was going? I will tell you, I don't go as fast as I used to back in my 20s. As long as I can stay up and go that way, I am good. But then also, did my velocity change? Did I change direction? Did I do any acceleration? Did I slow down, speed up, all that good stuff? Something does happen at the very end. So you'll kind of see. So have the students kind of think about what happened at the very end. How did my motion change?
You fell. No.
I tried to do a jump at the end. And yes. So they get a kick out of that. So they can kind of think about what they did. He gave you draw like a picture. This is what Mr. Height tried to do. And maybe it was like, and have velocity and acceleration, all that good stuff in there. So you can kind of do that a little bit. Then they'll take the short assessment. And obviously the biggest thing is we want them to be able to debrief. So, you know, we built that time in to go back and debrief any questions that they might have struggled with. So we want to put that time in there as well. Even going back to the probe. So going back to, and I put, like I said, I put the explanation up there as well. So they can see what they got on that. If they had to change their thinking, oh, I thought it was this person. Actually, it's this person. So if they changed their thinking from evidence, they're everything they did. So we want them to revisit that as well. I know I keep these in here. I know I have lots of classes that still do a final reflection. I think it's good. I think it's good practice to have students either on paper, like in their science notebook, or digitally. If they do something in Canva or whatever, doing some sort of like presentation, that's totally fine. So I leave that sort of rubric in there. So if teachers want to use that to do some sort of final reflection, that is totally your call. I have seen some teachers that still use it. So I think it's good practice. Or one pager. Some will do like a one pager at the end of the unit as a like a final reflection, which I love. I love the one pagers because it brings in lots of different elements, creative elements for the students to do. So that is Big Idea 12 in a nutshell. A lot shorter, but it's good. It's got some good hands-on activities and different things there. So any questions on Big Idea 12? And like I said, the student pages will be there briefly, shortly, I should say. Any questions? That was a lot. Like I said in the beginning, it's laid out, yes, but it does take a little time to.
Can I ask you a question without
Sure.
typing it all? Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Rachel Strand here. I'm at Sutherland Elementary. And since they dispersed the labs, I've been in McMullen Booth for many years before that. Now I'm at Sutherland, my first year there, and we've noticed that we don't have the supplies we're supposed to have. And whoever dispersed or dispensed out all the items from the labs didn't do it equally. So we're kind of playing like a game of like,
Yeah.
you know, a goose chase. Where is this? Where is that? Let's go buy this. Let's go buy that. So I was just wondering, since there's no such thing as a science lab manager anymore, I felt like I would offer to take on the job this year to do an inventory.
Yeah.
And do we still have that inventory available so that we can send it to you, that what we need for the following year?
We have been talking about that, and I can send you that inventory. I had the idea of it didn't happen, but and maybe it can happen. I don't know. We'll see. Is having some sort of like a science clerk that gets paid at a school. I know that's something I've definitely suggested. We can hopefully revisit that. But yeah, a school to school basis, some folks, and it was recommended that schools keep their space and keep all the materials together and not to disperse them. But yeah, didn't happen everywhere. But we do have that inventory, not only the lab, but also items that should be in the grade levels. So like the marbles and rulers and stuff, that was not a science lab. That was actually in the core. So there should be those items there. And we send out those every year. Yeah.
It's far and few between, and there's 6 of us in 4th grade.
Right. Ooh,
and
wow.
So we've got 3 math and science, 3 ELA, and I've been like running around like a crazy lady trying to collect everything for the sound unit. And I was able to finally find it, but it's like one classroom has this, one classroom has that, and then you go to what used to be the lab and there's like nothing even applicable there. So I was wondering, like, because we're doing thermal energy now soon and starting Monday, and we don't have like the things we need for that.
Right.
So if, like you said earlier in the meeting, if I look at it in advance, like go ahead into Big Idea 12 and see what I need, who do I email what we need?
Me.
Okay, Jamie, thank you.
So yeah.
To piggyback on what she's saying, Jamie Barry from Ozona. Is there an Excel spreadsheet that has like all of the units laid out and all the materials for each one, like by unit, like by Big Idea, I should say. So like a spreadsheet that has like Big Idea 1 and 2 and all the materials you need for that, Big Ideas, whatever, all in one place and like a spreadsheet we can download.
So there is on Canvas in, I believe it's year-long resources there. We just have not been able with the changes to update it completely, but I know that 4th grade and 3rd grade, 2nd, 1st, with the exception of 5th, is pretty much doing the same thing, just maybe a little bit different format. And there is a materials list, basic materials list of what is consumable and what is not consumable. And so you can go ahead and look at that. And the problem I'm seeing is what's happening, and we need to get that. That's one of the things that I would like to work on, is we need to we need to get a list that these materials don't go with the teacher, because what happens is a teacher will move to a new school or move a grade level and take those materials with them. For example, third grade does animal classification. I've seen teachers in third grade take those animal classification cards that were like $70 a kit purchased and take them with them, and now they're in fifth grade and they don't need, they don't need them. The third grade needs them. So that's something that has been a challenge for us and that we're trying to work on. But if you need materials, like we said, graduated cylinder, every grade level uses graduated cylinder. So, if your grade level needs something, whether it's Jamie in fourth grade or me in third grade or second grade, then email us, because we're trying to get that under control. It's been, like I said, it's been a challenge.
Thank you.
Yeah, we will. I took notes. We will definitely. We have been talking about that. Don't worry. Definitely, it is on our radar. And plus the way, especially fourth and fifth grade, kind of the way we're organized now. So fifth grade, they're having to review third and fourth grade. It's all embedded now within their big ideas. So they're actually, hey, I need
mirrors,
tuning forks, because we're reviewing fourth grade. So they might take tuning forks or
right, and then
mirrors or lights.
Mirrors in third grade, fourth and fifth are now using mirrors, and enough mirrors were not purchased for fourth and fifth grade. They were purchased for third. So
yeah, we had to go to third grade to grab the mirrors.
Yeah.
And then magnets went back to fourth grade. So it was like,
Yep.
Yeah, it was. I totally understand. It's been a thing this year, so we will work to solving that problem.
Is there any reason why they decided to dissolve the labs?
It basically kind of just ran its course. It was 10 good years. I think COVID kind of happened, and it didn't really rebound after that. So it was just kind of a thing where there wasn't really a reason. It was just kind of like, I think it was just kind of ran its course. And they were doing some other things with STEM and doing some other things after school and during school. So there wasn't really a true reason for that, other than, let's try something else.
Okay.
We got 10 years. I was excited to see something for 10 years.
I know, I miss it so much. The kids really take it so seriously when you go there.
Yeah. Yeah, we saw a big dip after coming back from the lockdown and everything. A lot of people even got rid of the lab, and all the materials got moved and all this stuff. So it was really hard to kind of recover from that.
That makes sense. Well, thank you.
No, thank you guys for your feedback. This is wonderful. It helps us see what's going on out there. Did you take attendance?
I did.
Okay, thank you. One more thing, I do want to, real quick, because this is sort of important. Hold on. I'm just going to share this. It's a little bit of a preview for Nature of Science, because that's coming up. We are going to do another. We have a district showcase. It's a science and engineering showcase. But in all the other grade level timelines, there's actually a designated space for doing projects. So fourth grade, we already had a Nature of Science unit. There's another one coming up in February through March. And so what we talked about was, let's give teachers opportunity to do that. So basically, and I'm almost done with this unit. So the first few days are going to be very specific content building. What are variables? What's a good testable question? What's a hypothesis? How do we organize an experiment? How do we analyze data? That type of thing. Using the Connects Catapult, we have those Connects, we still want to use those. If you remember, hopefully you still have them. We send out, and you're probably wondering, what are these? We sent out Velcro ping pong balls a while ago. Probably was a little too early. But you should still have a package of Velcro ping pong balls. Those were for the Catapult. So instead of doing the marshmallow, I actually tried it out. It was very fun. They actually stick to the carpet, which is really cool. If you want to do a marshmallow, still totally fine. But I did send out Velcro ping pong balls. So the first few days, very content building, scientific method. Then we have some options. If you want to continue with that experiment that is addressed in the first few days, we kind of use that question there as a length of the launch arm as a kind of our springboard. If you want to continue that route and do the experiment, do the launch arm, Velcro ping pong ball, the student pages are kind of laid out like an experiment journal. So we'll have everything in there: procedures, materials, data collection chart, graph. So it's kind of set up that way. If you want to use that remaining time to actually do, hey, we're going to do our experiments, for school science fair or for district science fair, you have that option as well. You could even use the Connects as your science fair. You can have, this is just an option. You can have each small group design a catapult and have them, and just change the variables. So maybe one catapult does the mass of an object, one does the launch arm, and so forth, the angle. So this is sort of the route. So again, you can start with option one. You can go all the way through using that question, or you can branch off and let students, do their question that they want to do. That way, we're building in the time for science projects, if that makes sense. Any questions? And there, again, like I said, it's student pages, but it's going to be set up like an experiment journal, so they can do it all right there, which is nice. Any questions about that? So that's coming up very soon. But I just wanted to give you a heads up.
Jamie will get those copies too?
Yes, you will. Yeah. Actually, they went to print today, actually, so that's a good thing. So, yeah. So in other words, you have time. So I've been getting emails like, do we have time for science fair projects? Yes, you do. And you'll be able to do it within that unit. So you can branch off and do your science fair stuff. Yeah. Cool. Well, if you guys don't have any more questions, that was an hour. That was an hour of good stuff there. Anne-Marie took attendance. I don't have a forms for you tonight. We have a small group. So Anne-Marie went ahead and did attendance. I do want to thank you guys for joining. Hopefully this was helpful, some good information. Remember, your student pages should be coming in early next week for Big Idea 12. Thank you all for joining me, and we will see you again real soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.